exactly what's going on with that system? Yeah, and then again, this is going to take you a little time. Depending on the age of the equipment, you're going to do this at varying levels. And just do it as you're going to do it going through. The critical points in there are very quick and easy to grab these things. Without a doubt, you know, to get pressure temperature readings, you got to have the system running, right? So that is, per the conversation we had earlier, you know, that may be a variation how you do it. Plumbing, there isn't the main water shutoff is in here, but what else are we missing in plumbing that's got to be a part of the total evaluation? Pressure. Yeah, water pressure and perhaps even water quality if you're doing that. You know, those are the other things that I would do as a part of that total evaluation of plumbing system. And electrical, the key points are there. So use that as a guideline as you modify as you go through this thing. As we practice this, all I want you to do is choose one of these areas. So electrical, you might say, I've done the initial situation which is I was in the kitchen at the tripping break at the circuit that was dead, and then I moved to the pan. Okay, that's all the practice that we need. We're not going to go to all the rest of the areas. For plumbing, you might say I've looked at the garbage disposal, then I went and looked at the water heater, the main water shutoff, or both because they're saying they're connected. They're at the same spot. HVAC, you might say I looked at the duct system, or I went to the indoor equipment, or I went to the thermostat, one of those locations. Okay? What we want to do is get the language of transitioning. Okay, Mr. Jones got a good handle on what's going on here at the kitchen. Can you show me what we're doing? That's the transition language. Then we go, we do the same thing again. Ask the questions and do evaluation at that location. Is that clear? So this is the second box in that house roadmap, right? We did the initial situation, ask questions. Now we're doing thorough evaluation and asking more questions. Price transparency, which we already dealt with, and then we're going to move into the transition to the present step. This is page 74. So let's fill in those blanks. So we've seen the initial situation, and we've done our thorough evaluation. We've asked a bunch of great questions, gathered a bunch of good information, and offered price transparency to our customer. All of that's complete. We're done our explore step. So now what I have is information. I need to go ahead and put together the options that I said that I was going to do. That's what this is about. Finding the space and time to build those options. So the bullet points are this. Number one is review. What? When? And finally, check in. Review. So, Mr. Jones, I really appreciate giving me all the information that you have. I've got some really good information, and I'm just reviewing what we've done. Thank you for answering my questions, and thank you for asking me the ones that you've asked me today. What I'm going to do next is head out to my truck, or head to the kitchen table. Which of those is better, by the way? Kitchen table. Kitchen table, it says truck. Is there a policy here? Is there a...
Usually the truck.
Is there any hard and fast policy, so it's what's best for everybody? Okay, that's cool.
What do you feel?
Does it matter? Depends on what you matters for me. I will do it interchangeably. Honestly, I did it interchangeably. So I would read the situation with the customer, and there were some where I absolutely knew that giving them space was going to be to my advantage. And there's others where I was like, I am not letting this person out of my sight for 5 seconds because I need to maintain a connection, right? Where it was tenuous and I felt that. So I would read it as it goes. My strong suggestion is if you're not 100% confident with how you're building your options, if that's taking you some time and you're fumbling around in your book and trying to figure it out, go with the truck. None of that's of any value in front of the customer. If you need to make a call to somebody, you need to get clarification for something, just go to your truck. It's going to be okay. And how you set that up is what's important. If you just disappear, then you're going to be in trouble. So what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be going out to my truck and I'm going to put together the options that we talked about. Based on the information that you've given me, we're going to get those options put together. I'm going to be out there for approximately, and now here's where you need to be real. Tell them how much time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and if that's what it is, and you get to the end of that, you're not done yet, you go to the house. I'm not, hey, Mr. Jones, I'm waiting on a call back, I'm checking on one specific component of this before I can finish putting those options together. I expect that call back in the next 5 minutes. So I'm going to expect it to be another 10. Is that still going to be okay? Right? The worst thing you can do is leave them wondering. You said 10 minutes and it's been 25. Like that's the worst possible thing that you can do. Right? And the key point of your page says do not reinflate the balloon. Do not reinflate the balloon. And that's how you do that. Be gone for 25 minutes. Have smoke billowing out of your truck. All right? You know? That's the stuff that's gonna reinflate the balloon. So tell them what's gonna happen, and then check in. Do you have any questions before I head out? That's it. Now, here's a great place, and somewhere in the margin of this is where you're gonna bring up the spouse. Now, especially if they said, well, I'm not gonna make anything, and this may have come up in the price transparency. If it's gonna be that much, I'm gonna have to talk to my husband before I do this. No problem. Totally understand that, I get that. And lots of my customers feel that way. Carry on, finish your explore step, and then now is where you're gonna bring that up. Okay, so Mrs. Jones, I'm gonna head out to the truck, I'm gonna go start working on those options that we talked about. And I'm gonna be building some options for you. While I'm out there, and this is where I like to build it in, I would encourage you to have that conversation with Mr. Jones. If he's available and you can get him on the line, I'll be out of your way. You've got a rough idea what things are gonna cost, and I'm just gonna go put together those options for you. And then, by the way, when I come back in, if he's interested in being a part of that conversation, let's get him on speakerphone, or even on FaceTime if you wanna do that. I'm completely comfortable with us doing that. Okay? I'll get to be out there for about 10 or 15 minutes, and when I get back in, we'll go over those options and get the one started on that makes the most sense for you guys today. What questions do you have before I head outside? Now, I want to draw attention to this because in this check-in, I just used this again, and had a guy in Idaho who picked this up. So we did, 3 days of service system training of all the things that he picked up. This is the thing he picked up, and it made a 30% increase in his average ticket. One thing. And I've used it 1,000 times here. What questions do you have? Who's noticed that language? Instead of, do you have any questions? I asked you, do you have any questions? What's your answer? No. You didn't even think about it, do you? Nope, no questions. And you've been paying close attention. There are times when I use that intentionally. It's kind of closing a chapter and I'm moving on. Anybody have any questions? Didn't think so. Let's go. Okay. So, what questions do you have changes the nature of how your customer goes about answering that. So this causes what's called a transderivational search. And sometimes people's eyes will go, their face will wrinkle. They're thinking. This induces that. And for the person asking the question, this creates a different kind of listening. Because if I ask, do you have any questions? I'm going to get a no, and I'm going to be ready to move on. If I ask, what questions do you have about that? What do I automatically need to do at that point? I got to listen. I got to wait for your response. Right? So I've done this a bunch of times. What questions do you have about that? And then I wait. And without a doubt, in 3 or 5 or 10 seconds, somebody goes, yeah, I kind of do have a question about that. Right? Because the thinking is happening, and I'm just doing the listening. And now I'm just waiting. Because I'm okay with you being quiet for a few minutes as you think about what questions you have. And those things will pop up. 30% increase in his average ticket. He did that. He was doing a bunch of service system stuff already, and then added this, and added an extra 30%. I don't know, it might be worth it.
So you do that after you come back from the back.
The what questions do you have? Anytime I'm asking them, does that make sense? What questions do you have about this before we move on? Right? I'm using that constantly. That's how I check in with my customer. And what questions do you have about the air conditioner before we move inside and start talking about the track system? What questions do you have about, right? That's a go-to line. And when we get to the present step, it becomes especially powerful. What questions do you have about option 1 before we move in and start looking at the others? Breathe, allow them to answer the what questions. Okay, so that's all I'm ending this event anyway. What questions do you have about that? How that works. We have a saying at Nexstar, we eat our own cooking. So we practice what we preach. Lots of the stuff that we teach in this thing I do in the